Whoa, teams, hey? So, today I'm going to talk about some of the different jobs that I've had, some of the issues that I've come across, and some ways that we can all improve our workplaces. So, to begin with, I remember one company I worked with and going in for the interview, even just the atmosphere when we were in the waiting room and the way that the people were dressed. You could tell that there wasn't a very high standard of professionalism. Now, this was an industry that should be highly regulated, that should have a much, much higher standard. There was red flags off of the bat. Unfortunately, when I got into training, things only got worse. The first week was amazing. That trainer knew what they were doing. They had been a worker for a very long time, and they were an amazing, amazing teacher. Unfortunately, in week two, we had the head of their standards and training, and that was the worst training that I have ever been in my entire life. Instead of teaching the information, it was a lot of questions and asking. Nothing against the person. I think they just were a little bit unsure of themselves. They needed a bit more confidence. I really believe if they had that confidence and had a bit more time with the information, that they could have nailed these classes. But for me and for us, having all these different questions and discussions instead of actual teaching, it made answering the questions at the end of the fortnight so difficult. Now, moving on from there, the leaders in the individual houses, some of them were really, really good. Some of them were really, really terrible. They were all overworked. Being overworked, it just shone a microscope on any possible problem that was there. Unfortunately for me, I ended up in a house with some of the highest behaviors in the company. I had one of the newest leaders as well, it sounded like, and they were overworked, completely stressed, and had terrible communication. Now, I believe firmly and strongly and completely that we can work out any problem in any situation as long as we've got enough communication. If we're talking, if we're open and we're honest, I don't think that there's any problem that we can't Google, any problem that we can't sort out. Without that communication, without that talking, with any attitude of us versus them, it just never works. We always end up with a battle. Now, this leader was also petty. I remember at one point saying, here's the time and the way that I can work. And they waited till the last possible second, according to their policies and procedures, to roster me on and to block out basically my whole week, to ruin my actual whole week, a week of my entire life. Now, from there, I kept gritting on. I kept going. I kept just gritting my teeth, is what I was trying to say. I kept grinding. I kept going. But it just added up and added up and added up. This is actually one of the houses I was talking about in a previous video where people were literally leaving self-harm implements around in the house, where 2 or 3 different times in one shift there was massive red flags that should have honestly had this company come under a bigger investigation, to be completely upfront. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that when we don't have accountability, when we don't have buy-in from these leaders, and when there's no real following through, we're going to have massive problems. Now, being the leader and having these kind of issues, that trickled down into the team. So again, we had a team with no accountability, no buy-in, there was no real follow-through. We had tick sheets for things that we were meant to do, and in different houses, in different areas in this company, I just see some of the most disgusting things in houses that I've ever seen. Like urine in the staff rooms in places that it shouldn't have been. I honestly don't even know how some of this stuff happened. Now, one of the biggest problems that I noticed is anybody that hung around started just jockeying for position. They'd run over anybody they could to make themselves look better. There was no accountability and taking all of the glory for any of the leaders. From what I heard, this got worse and worse and worse the further in the back rooms that you got, the further that you were into these management discussions. Terrible. Unfortunately, that isn't even one of the worst places I've worked. I had another place where our leader had very poor leadership because they had a massive chip on their shoulder. They felt like they should have been, again, they were jockeying. They felt again like they should have been in a much higher position than they were. But the position they had was completely fine. I honestly don't understand what their problem was. Because of this, they had that chip on their shoulder, which actually led to a real desperation. That came down on us. There was just accusations. There was like forgetting things that they'd told us to do. So I'd be following, people on the team would be following their direct instructions, and then we'd all get called in for meetings in the room that were like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Nearly every time that I heard that question with this person, it was something that they told us to do 3-4 days, maybe a week before, never more than a week. It was just insanity. Now, they were literally breaking down people on this team. There was other people that at times were physically breaking down, thinking about quitting jobs that they'd been in for a decade or more. It was really, really sad to watch. Very, very sad. Again, I've been in places even more toxic. This one wasn't even a workplace. This toxic place that I'm going on had ongoing issues. They had issues since before the leaders got there. They had issues with the leaders that were under the leaders. Like, the whole structure was an absolute mess. The whole thing was basically run on pride. They were having people leave all the time. When the people would leave, their attitude would stay in the teams that they trained. And then when new people came on, there'd be no trust. Everyone, like I said, was operating on pride. It was complete ignorant arrogance. At one point, I even sat down with one of the leaders and said, hey, we're having meetings behind your back, talking about you. I've realized a few weeks ago how terrible, how toxic this is. I'm trying to change it. What do you think? They sat back, they got a smug little smirk on their face. They said, I know. You could just tell by their eyes that they had no idea that this was going on. They ignored me. 2 or 3 months later, the whole thing blew up and went incredibly bad. When we're leaders, we need to be willing to accept that we can make mistakes. We need to be even more willing to accept that we do make mistakes. And when things go right, we need to pass that the glory onto the other people. We need to be servants. We need to cut that pride. We need to cut that arrogance. We need to literally bury our egos. I don't understand how anybody goes around with such big, again, chips and pride and all kinds of things on their shoulders. Leading a team is enough weight as it is. Why should we add to it just with our own garbage? We need to cut that stuff off. One of the easiest ways to do this is to be looking for accountability. We need people that are ahead of us, people that are our leaders, or leaders in other organizations is even better. We need people that we can go to, that we can be completely blunt with, that we can be open and honest, and that we can share those struggles with. If we're sharing our struggles, comes back to that first workplace. Open communication. If there's communication, any problem can get solved. We've all got Google, we've all got a brain. If we talk together, we've got multiple brains in the room. Everything is just so much simpler. All we need to do is talk. Now, one last company. This company was just so selfish. It was so performance driven. It made everything that they did just harsh to the people that were trying to work for them. And it all just became about the company image. They were all about getting money for themselves, literally not caring about the people that were running the smaller areas. This thing was nationwide. The people that were in the smaller areas seemed to just get run over by the people that were the bigwigs. It seemed just like they couldn't understand that these people needed their help, needed their support, and were struggling and crying out for it. At one point, personally, I had been battered down by some of these other toxic places because I was working in almost all of these places at the same time. I'd been so cut down by some of these other places that these people couldn't accept that I was just burnt out, that I was flat. It was still all about them. It was still all about their company, and it made it incredibly harsh. At one point, the way I put it is my open wounds were sitting there gushing. I was going, hey, have a look at this. Can you help me with this? The response that I got was, I like watching this TV show with my family. Like, I'm pouring my heart out and you're telling me about relaxing to a TV show. I don't care about that. I'm here looking for support. This company ended up going much further. So, as leaders, what can we do? Okay, now that I've got notes, let's try this thing. So, first of all, let's go with accountability, extreme ownership. No matter what's gone wrong, where did we do it? Whether we're the CEO or the garbage man, every single problem that we see in our business, in our company, in our workplace, Where can we change things? Where can we make things better? Where can we avoid this problem in the future? Let's become the solution. Number 2, blame other people, but blame them only for the good. Don't pass up accusations, pass up all of the glory, all of the success, blame other people for the things that go right. Thirdly, put other people first. No matter where you are in the company, no matter what you do, other people come before you. You need to be a servant for everyone. This goes even more for the leaders. If we're all thinking about serving each other, how much stronger is the entire company going to end up? Fourthly, slow down. This one's hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people in this time, in this age, with all our connectivity, with all of the internet, with all of the knowledge that we've got going around. Slow down. Remember that we don't need to rush. The less we rush, the better our decisions are going to be. Lastly, people. It's all about people. We're not about company. We're not about employees. We're not about workers. We're about people. I don't care whether, again, if you're a garbage truck man, if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, if you're a trader at home, whatever you're doing, there's other people that count on you, that rely on you, and that need you to calm down, slow down, and help them out. If we're putting other people first, I guarantee that we can win in every element of business. I know that that sounds counterintuitive. We're usually so selfish lately. I think that we literally could learn a lot from just stopping, just cutting the garbage and putting people first. We all want to talk about our business, our company, our colleagues as a family. How about we treat them well? How about we treat them like a good family? How about we treat them like the family that we like? Now, I hope that I've ended this negative little rant with something good with these 5 points. Have a great day and good luck in your company.